Sam's up next on the Nick Teodosi opening line. Good evening, Sam.
Good evening, everyone. Apparently, Fly McRae was salivating over the prospect of Lachie Neale coming to Collingwood next year. I've got grave reservations about all that. I don't really like that idea at all as a Collingwood supporter. I don't reckon it's a really good fit for us in the slightest.
Yeah, what's the reason behind it, Sam? You just don't think it's a fit for the group or fit for the team?
Sam, we've got bigger holes in our team that need filling rather than another midfielder. I don't think we've got a key forward that's in the top 50 of the comp at the moment. And our defence, insofar as key defenders, is being held together by a guy who was borderline retirement last year, got talked into another year, Jeremy Howe. We've got to fix those ends of the ground up before we worry about another midfielder. And I don't think we're in the position to sort of go for a flag over the next year or two anyway.
Yeah, it's some good points you raised, Sam, and our Sam here. I think, though, the advantage of Lachie Neale, and not dismissing Sam's points, yeah, they need to address their forward line and maybe some defensive stocks, but he'd be a free agent. So he doesn't. I know you're going to give up a bit in salary, but he actually doesn't impact you still doing those other things as well.
Yeah, I think any team that gets Lachie Neale is very, very lucky. I'm surprised that there's not more teams jumping at the opportunity. I mean, he's playing amazing football this year and makes you much better as a team. He's one of the best clearance players in the league. From my perspective into Collingwood, one of their issues is actually their inside grunt distributor and getting clearance. They've got good defence. Yes, they've got some issues at their tools on either end of the ground, but you think Darcy Moore comes back in the back half. They're probably chasing a key forward, you'd think. But I wouldn't think they're that far off the mark if they got another good mid and a forward. They've been competitive all year and not far away. There's only a small couple of jumps up and they'd be competing again for me.
And the knock-on effect as well. Nick Dacos can play forward a bit more. De Goey can go forward. Like the different things you can do with Lachie Neale in your side. And you're right. It was a bit undersold, the impact that Tom Mitchell had as the inside grunt guy. Just handball it to Nick is a good game plan.
Well, Ned Long was kind of the player that Tom Mitchell got shifted out and his career finished, and Ned Long was kind of that guy that they really wanted to stand up and jump into that mould, and he probably hasn't performed as well as what Tom Mitchell's an ex-Brownlow medalist, and we're talking about Lachie Neale, who's a dual Brownlow medalist. They're the top echelon of inside midfielders in their craft of what they do, and I think more teams should be chasing him. If he's on the move, I think more teams in the window of trying to win flags should be getting him.
Now, I don't want to start the daytime, nighttime, grand final sort of stuff, but being there last night at the MCG, I think it was more for me, and Laura, you had your point of view in there. The production of State of Origin is world class. I know we love to throw around world class for everything we do in Australia, or world leading or best in practice, which the AFL uses a lot. But we don't do as good as Rugby League do in promoting the biggest moments. Like when you were there live at the MCG, even the way they activated the scoreboards, the lights, the build-up, you watch all the packages put together. You genuinely felt like, and I know State of Origin evokes emotion like nothing else, but you can't tell me a grand final doesn't evoke emotion, in supporter groups. But the way it felt was, it was almost like every moment building up for all those players and all those supporters, from New South Wales and Queensland was leading to that moment. And it just didn't feel like, hey, we only played game 2 a couple of weeks ago. It felt like we're going to dig up from the very first State of Origin, and we're going to spark all your memories, get your spine and the hairs standing up on your arms, all the way up to the kickoff.
Yep.
And you were enthralled.
Have you always been a night grand final, or have you been a day and you've now been?
No, I'm not a night grand final person either.
You're just saying the NRL.
I'm taking the whole production bit. The fact is they use night, but I just think we can get so much better than just rolling out the standard all the time. It feels like we've got a really nice approach and it's good and it ticks a lot of boxes, but we do get left behind in the way they present their biggest moment.
I'd be curious to hear from the listeners, if you watched it, what did you think of that side of it, the production side of it? I mean, it looks better on TV. There's no doubt about that. It was pretty far. you were pretty far from the action, at the MCG because the field was so far from the boundary with it boxed into the MCG, the sort of AFL dimensions. But what do you think the AFL could learn from what we saw? I agree with you, Jimmy. I think all that nostalgia, people love to see it. All those sort of big moments, the packages, the grabs.
It sort of cut you off there, but it feels like the TV, the radio, and the live experience marry up really well. And I'm not saying we don't do it well, but they just do it exceptionally well. So I think we do it. I'll start it. I think AFL does it really well, but it's like you'll get a good TV package and then live, and we sort of bit piece, and it comes together well. But it just feels like NRL. It just this big crescendo, like all the way up to the actual match and the moment it was exceptional last night.
To me, it's a good advertisement for a night grand final.
Yeah,
you sort of see what you can do, what the spectacle can be like in terms of all the pyrotechnics and everything. Look way better at night. I think watching it's the case for a night grand final and what that could be. So you're a night grand final? I like where it is. I do, but I think seeing an event like that at night, a marquee event, and what they can do in terms of the fan experience, utilise the stadium, the pyros, the lights, the sound, everything. I think it's more elevated than a daytime experience for me.
Now, I will say though, like they are a TV sport.
They are.
Like NRL is a TV sport. It's more compact, and we lean into our actual game. I'm not saying their game's better, worse, or indifferent, but we lean into our game sort of speaks for itself. Like, so let's just celebrate the game. Let's get it on, and that's the entertainment. But it was really well done.
I think that's the question that needs answering is what is the grand final about?
Yeah,
is it if it's about the game, then day is actually probably better. But
where do you see? What time do you like the grand final?
I've always liked the twilight, which is still moving it from the day. I don't love it being at like late at night, but I think there's a mixture of kind of a twilight where half time's kind of landing on when it starts to get dark, so you can kind of have the best of both worlds. Like traditionalists love the day, love the little bit build in, have the game, and then you've got the afternoon to sort of enjoy yourself after it. Footy, when it's finishing super late, I think at a stretch at a big game in terms of capturing families and everyone around Australia, I think that's a stretch to go so far into the night that it goes there. But I think there's definitely merit. And if you talk about everything of where is the next level of money coming from in the game to keep growing it in terms of where everyone wants it to go in terms of salaries and new teams and more players. There's going to have to be some further commercialisation of the game, and grand final is a piece where you can really tap into an audience that is probably a largely untapped part of the industry in terms of that commercial entertainment base that you could you think about how many people watch the Super Bowl just for the halftime show, in terms of the eyeballs on that, in terms of marketing, in terms of funds into the game. There's definitely an opportunity there, but I think the decision and the strategy needs to come back to what is the AFL actually after? If it's a commercial, if the game is about commercial, then they need to move the time slot. It doesn't make any sense to have it at 2. But if it's not, then it can stay there.
Plenty to talk about as we build up Fremantle versus Geelong here on Sport Today. We'll talk about, of course, Jai Simpkin being reprimanded for his comments regarding the Paul Curtis suspension. Of course, coaches with microphones in front of them provided plenty to talk about. And you give us a call about anything about football, 133693. 693. The Nick Theodosi open line is open. And Tobias has given us a buzz. Good evening, Tobias.
Yeah, good evening. I watched last night's State of Origin, but one part of it left me a bit confused, is that when the New South Wales bloke got reported and sin-bin for the head tackle, the player looked like, I'm not a medical professional, but looked like he was maybe concussed. In the AFL, he would have been taken straight off and put through a 20-minute protocol. So why is the State of Origin any different?
They still have head injury assessments. I think Cameron Munster was one of the players that had one last night and passed it, and they grade it. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3. So they do have it, but I think the issue of concussion between the two codes is just chalk and cheese. I mean, they're totally different sports in my view in terms of the risk with concussion. The contact in rugby league is so forceful from the shoulders up when you think about the tackling mechanisms. And even you see that represented by the penalties that they don't have. Like we'd see an act in a State of Origin match and go, in AFL land, that would be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And in State of Origin, it's a bit of it's State of Origin, we'll let it slide. Yeah. So it's a bit difficult to compare it, I think. They are trying to take it seriously, but I think it's much harder for them to manage concussion in NRL than it is for us to do it in AFL.
It's going to be changing more of the fabric of the game in rugby than it is in AFL.
Yep.
There's slight changes in the AFL that doesn't lose the fabric of the game. In NRL, I'm probably the same. To legislate that and put in significant sort of time period penalties and other bits and pieces around rugby league, it'll take a lot. It'll take a lot away from the game.
Antonio, can you do me a favour, please? Can you play Xander Maguire on Agenda Setters last night?
If your words aren't derogatory, if they're not offensive and if they're not personal and aimed at a specific person within AFL House, then I think the players should have the scope to engage in debate around critical topics in the AFL. I think it enhances the connection between clubs and players and the fans. It enhances the understanding of issues and the way that players engage with them. I think that ultimately...
Are the AFL being too precious?
Well, I think that the AFL at times can treat social media and the way that players speak and even at times other elements of the game like it's state-controlled media. And although Jai Simpkin has had a go at the MRO there, which I think is actually unfair because the MRO is beholden to a rubric, I think at large Jai Simpkin shouldn't be given a formal warning for just voicing his opinion.
I think Xander Maguire articulated that very well, and he's referencing Jai Simpkin referring to the MRO as laughable on his social media, his Instagram stories on Tuesday night after teammate Paul Kerr's 3-match suspension was upheld by the tribunal. I think it's a pretty fair point Xander raises, that we want players to contribute to discussion and debate. And I know there is a line, of course, you don't want them critiquing umpires and, not trashing the game. But as Xander pointed out, he's talking on something that is impacting the entire game. It's a worthy debate to have, and don't we want to hear from players?
Well, this is what he said in the story. The AFL needs to get it together. The constant rule changes and the MRO is laughable. Players don't know what they can and can't do anymore. Just hope for the best each week. I would imagine that is a sentiment that a lot of players are feeling. There would be confusion out there based on what's going on at the tribunal. The problem that I have with it is, I agree with Sandy, he didn't name anyone personally. He wasn't having a shot at anyone specifically from AFL House. If the only people who are allowed to speak about this in any formal capacity are, the representatives from the AFLPA, and that's not even done in a public forum, that's a liaison thing that often happens and we're not privy to what they're discussing or what they're, putting forward as representatives of the players, then there's no transparency out there, that the players' views aren't shared. And we interview a lot of players in our travels. They should be allowed to, within reason, say things like this without fear of being reprimanded.
Well, I think it comes back to that conversation we had earlier and the commercialisation of the game. That the players are a huge stakeholder in the game,
Absolutely.
And largely not really allowed to speak too much on much within the game in terms of the issues or the direction of the game, the umpiring. These conversations are had behind closed doors in terms of the Players Association, the Players Association to the AFL, but very rarely, if ever, in the public domain, because that this happens. This is Jai comes out and says something, and to be honest, I actually thought he was quite lucky off what they usually do in the AFL in terms of sanctioning players that speak out about these sorts of things. But I think it'd be great for the game to be able to engage in more stakeholders in the game, get more differing opinions, get a real sense of where each stakeholder in the game actually feels.
Xander Maguire reported the league was considering a financial sanction and quite rightly decided against us.
Laura's insisted we talk about the Bulldogs and Luke Beveridge's response to that hard-hitting journalist Jordan Lewis from On the Couch, saying that Tim English, he said he would be surprised if Tim English is still there next year. Let's have a listen to what Bevo had to say at his media conference today.
I'll scoop Lewis. So Louis, it's like he's gone up and he's come back with a half a scoop of vanilla. Like, if he's going to speculate and make statements, you've got to give you the full scoop. But Tim's contracted until the end of 29, so player of his ability and impact, he's secure here. So it came out of left field for us. Didn't know where it came from, other than Louis. So I don't know who he's talking to, but we're not sure about there's any accuracy in any of that.
I didn't want to talk about the Dogs. I just wanted to hear the vanilla scoop Lewis.
Yeah.
was a ripper.
It was a ripper.
I do feel like a vanilla scoop of ice cream now.
That's a brilliant whack.
Would he have answered that the same way if it had been from a journalist who...
He would have.
You think?
Oh, yeah. Bevo is not afraid of whacking journalists.
No,
as you may recall with the Tom Morris saga, but
it was a gentle whack to Geordie in a way, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
It was a humorous whack.
It was.
I'm assuming they've got history back from when they would have both been at Hawthorn together.
Yeah.
So
was it a convincing answer though? Like if you hear the last bit that he said, didn't really.
The I don't know who he's talking to part.
Yeah, just that. It was just one line in there.
He signed. It'd be interesting if he were seeking a move because he's not long signed that deal.
No,
there was so much speculation that he would go
to the West.
Yep, go to the West. But his partner now, fiance, are they married? I think
Re-signed for 2 years.
Plays netball, and that was a part of that whole decision was working out whether or not they could be in the same state. So. That speculation was huge over that contract, and he signed it. So I can't see.
Who knows where Jordan's mail's from?
Yeah. There has to be something to it. And I'm not saying it's not resolved, or I have no idea. I haven't spoken to Geordie. I'm looking forward to, because it is always strange when a non-journalist breaks a story. Like, it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen every now and then, and a special comments person kind of jumps out of their lane. And that's fine, but then they have to deal with the ramifications of that. Like, journos are used to saying, can't tell you my sources, throwing a few things, can't tell you where. But he kind of, as Bevo alluded to, he kind of gave you the one scoop, but he didn't say which club. He wasn't able to furnish any other details because he just kind of wasn't sure.
It's brilliant. Who knows? I haven't actually listened to all of the Jordan Lewis side, but maybe it was part opinion.
No.
It
definitely wasn't part
Did it come across as male with your ears, like that sound like male?
It's absolutely. He's got mail.
That does
somewhere.
make it juicy, then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he only got married earlier this year. His wife, Rudy Ellis, plays for the Melbourne Vixens, who won the Suncorp Super Netball Championship last year. So that was the point of tension, as I understood it, or the point of contention with the contract, one of the big ones, when he signed his last deal.
Yeah, there was money as well, though. Because,
money too, but I mean, she's now playing for the reigning premiers of the Super Netball League. There's not really a better team in Australia. They've got a good chance of going back to back. I would be staggered if...
There's a lot of teams in Melbourne who'd like Tim English. He doesn't have to be going home.
No, that's very true.
Yeah, did we all make the assumption, he's leaving, he's just going back
I think,
west?
Who could use him in Melbourne? What team could use Tim English in Melbourne?
Geelong.
One down the highway.
No. Geelong doesn't need any more leg ups.
Wouldn't that just cause us...
How many farms do you have? Jeez. Do the Cotton On come
Apart
in triple XL?
Sure. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
They'd have to fit him out at Cotton On, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone. That's maybe in North Melbourne, Tristan Xerri with the new ruck rules
Would he be an upgrade at Carlton in the ruck?
Potentially, yes, he would be. Essendon, definitely.
I mean, there's only a handful that wouldn't be interested.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, to play full freight though is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, which would have to be for them. I mean, it's madness to think that the Bulldogs wouldn't trade him deliberately. It would only be if it was an untenable situation, or they needed,
or they need some salary cap space
which I don't think they do. But obviously, they're going to try and get Zach Butters. So
I don't think they're in the $2 million market though when it comes to Zach Butters and Tim English. We all know, and we've seen the statistics from this season, the games when he doesn't play, what a big impact that has on that football club. There is no way they would want him to go. I would be staggered if he does leave, but don't know who Jordan Lewis is talking to.
No,
so you'll have to get the inside word, Hutto, when you see him.
I'm pretty sure he won't be just telling me to, unless I promise not to say it on air. And then we'll see. No, just joking, Geordie. So it is fascinating, though, isn't it? And the Bulldogs are an interesting case. I think they're such an interesting case right now. And Luke Beveridge's tenure, I think, is interesting too. I don't mean for this year, but I mean in the longer term, just purely for how long he's been there, but also his style. Just, and obviously the injuries they've had this year have played a significant part, but they were really poor last up, and they'd want to play well from here on in, I think, for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I just think they're a bit one-dimensional in the way they play. They need to win the midfield battle. They need to protect their back half. They need to get enough supply into their forward line. When they get beaten in that, then they really struggle, and I've spoken about it a bit, that behind the ball they lose way too many contests and get scored against too easily, and they really struggle to move the ball out of their back half, whether that's back half or midfield mix to use on the outside. They just struggle in that aspect of the game. So some shifts in their game plan need to be made if they're going to really compete against the best sides. I just haven't seen them be able to do that this year.
So when you hear all the conversations around Zach Butters, you don't just insert him into the mix and the problems are solved?
It doesn't specifically, but Zach Butters is a really, really good outside mid, so he does help you in terms of that transition game. And part of what I was saying there is around their back half ball movement. Their part of it might be around their midfield mix, because their midfield mix is quite in and tight and at the coalface, as opposed to on the outside running and running carry style. So he might help them a bit. He wouldn't be the first cab off the rank that I'd be chasing if I was the Dogs.
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, if they thought that they could land Jacob Wiedering or someone a bit younger, would you make that the priority as a key defender?
Yep.
Absolutely.
You would.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it allows them to play with some more presence in their key back stocks, and it's been a couple of year stint where they just haven't got that part of the ground great, and then they've got scored against in those big key forwards.
I guess the thing is, I mean, Bonta's still got a lot of footy in him. You would think he's just turned 30, I think. But if they were to get Butters, then it just means you've got a marquee player. I know they've got Darcy already, so maybe you don't need another one, but he's got the injury query. Like, from a whole of club point of view, to have that marquee player is a pretty big thing, I reckon.